Usually, when you think about cutting-edge tech, you picture miniaturization, right? Like a supercomputer shrinking into a smartphone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the defining trend of Silicon Valley. Smaller is always better.
But looking at China's current push into advanced microchips, that trend is completely inverted. We're looking at a brand new semiconductor machine that isn't the size of a school bus. It's the size of an entire factory floor.
Which is just wild to think about.
Totally wild. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring some really fascinating notes from an analytical video by Anastasi in Tech, and our mission here is to explore this together, to help you stay perfectly informed on how China is rethinking chip manufacturing to basically bypass tech barriers.
Yeah, and to really grasp how they're doing this, we have to start with the absolute hardest part of the process, which is, generating the light.
Okay, let's unpack this. We know that hitting this 13.5 nanometer extreme ultraviolet wavelength is the holy grail for printing next-gen wafers.
Right.
But generating it is a total nightmare. ASML is the industry leader, and they do it in a way that sounds, honestly, absolutely unhinged.
It really does.
They shoot 50,000 tiny tin droplets into a vacuum every single second, and then they hit each moving droplet with 2 lasers to vaporize it into a 200,000-degree plasma.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like trying to flawlessly shoot thousands of microscopic clay pigeons every single second.
That is the perfect analogy. And, decades of engineering went into making that reliable. China couldn't just replicate that overnight.
Right, obviously.
So the source explains they took a completely different route to get that same 13.5 nanometer light. It's called LDP, or laser-induced discharge plasma.
Okay, so how is that different from the clay pigeons?
Well, imagine 2 slowly spinning metal discs sitting in a bath of heated liquid tin.
A bath of tin, okay.
Yeah. A small laser hits one disc to create a little bit of tin vapor, and then boom, huge capacitor banks dump a massive electrical current straight through that vapor.
Oh, and that massive current creates a magnetic field that crushes the vapor into the superheated plasma they need.
Exactly. And it emits the exact same extreme UV light. The funny thing is, ASML actually experimented with LDP like 20 years ago.
Wait, really? Why'd they stop?
They abandoned it because it maxed out at just 30 watts of power. And for commercial speed, you need hundreds of watts.
Ah, okay. But China is betting modern tech can scale it up.
Right. They're reportedly hitting around 100 watts now with their prototype.
Wow. Okay. So they managed to generate this 100-watt plasma, but getting the light isn't even half the battle, right? Because extreme UV light is notoriously finicky.
Oh, yeah. Very.
It gets absorbed by almost everything, including like standard glass lenses. And I'm stuck on this part. ASML spent 30 years creating atomically smooth mirrors just to bounce this light around. How did China shortcut decades of optical know-how? Did they just copy it poorly?
Well, what's fascinating here is they accepted that lower quality. They completely changed the engineering trade-off. If your mirrors are less precise and your light source is dimmer, you just compensate with brute force. You build larger light collectors, use way bigger mirrors, and create a much longer optical path.
So instead of trying to match the microscopic perfection of ASML, they're just overcompensating with sheer size.
Exactly. They traded elegance for scale.
And that explains why this thing takes up an entire factory floor instead of a school bus.
Yep. But there's an invisible bottleneck here that the video brings up, which nobody really talks about.
Helium, right.
Yes, helium. It's completely non-negotiable. You can't run a machine this massive and hot without it.
Because it cools things down.
It carries heat away from the intense parts of the process, yeah. And because helium atoms are so tiny, they use it to detect microscopic leaks in the vacuum systems. A single advanced fab goes through up to 20,000 cubic meters of it a month.
That's a ton. And the video points out China imports roughly 85% of its helium. The kicker is you can't just hoard it in some strategic reserve.
No, you really can't. It's transported as a cryogenic liquid, and it literally just boils away into the atmosphere while sitting in the transit tanks.
So you can't stockpile it. That creates a massive vulnerability for an ecosystem trying to be entirely domestic.
Huge vulnerability.
So what does this all mean? How can China compete with a slower, helium-starved, factory-sized machine?
Well, the key takeaway is that they aren't trying to beat ASML's 700-watt commercial behemoth.
They aren't.
No, they only need to beat their own current baseline. Right now, to make advanced chips, they use older DUV or deep ultraviolet machines.
Right. And because that light isn't fine enough, they have to do quadruple patterning, right? forcing the wafer through the lithography process 4 separate times.
Exactly. And every time you run it through, you multiply the chance for microscopic errors. That's why their yields fall below 50%. Half the chips go straight in the trash.
Ouch. So this giant EUV prototype, it's really just a strategic survival project, not a commercial one.
Yeah, it just needs to work well enough to guarantee domestic chip production. Cost and efficiency don't matter right now.
And the analysis makes a great point that physical embargoes can only do so much. I mean, we've seen experts who used to work at ASML returning to China, bringing decades of knowledge with them.
Human expertise naturally routes around these roadblocks. It's like we said at the start. They couldn't miniaturize the machine, so they found a workaround and scaled it up.
Right, which leaves you with a really provocative question to think about. The sanctions can't stop the flow of knowledge, but if physical resources like helium are the real bottleneck, will restricting those resources ultimately force the invention of entirely new, undiscovered alternative materials that bypass the global supply chain completely?